Breaking the gray.
Sarah, where are you in the world today?
Yeah, still in Holland, still in sunny Holland for another week or so. So yeah, all good.
I see a little bit of sunlight, or a lot of sunlight, or is it cloud cover with sun bursting through?
It's cloudy.
Yeah. Same here. We had thick fog this morning, and we have this foghorn that goes off. And today was the first day I've lived here for a couple of years where I actually noticed the foghorn, because you sort of tune it out after you've lived around a foghorn and a repeating noise. So I'm excited for today. I see someone that's actually on our call. He's on his treadmill. I'm really excited to jump into today's topic.
Mm-hmm.
Blue blockers. I know he's ready.
Yeah, well, I'm very excited to bring on Kris Gethin, who I'm sure everybody will already know without an introduction, but bodybuilder, and also the reason why we have him on it, biohacker extraordinaire. So welcome, Kris. It's so nice to see you.
It's nice to finally connect with you kind of in person. We've spoken on the phone many times, but to actually see you on Zoom, much better. Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate the introduction.
Yeah, such a pleasure. Yeah, we've kind of done a little bit of going forward with voicemail. So yeah, I'm glad to see you, and I hope might get to see you in person. I'm kind of heading to the States soon. Fingers crossed, all going well. So you never know.
Yeah, you have to navigate a few hoops, but it can be done.
Yes, I have to spend a few weeks on a tropical island, but yeah, it can be done. Yeah. Yes.
Kris,
Russ, you
Kris,
can jump in.
Yeah, let me jump in. And Kris, one of the questions we like to start off with is, what is your biohacking superpower?
My biohacking superpower. Well, I tell you what, if I had that superpower, I still probably wouldn't be biohacking. But I'd say the thing for me that I've been able to, I work at it every day, and that's just mindfulness. I try to wait, because in today's day and age, it's very easy. We have this device with us 24/7, which is like having 13 drugs mainlining you 24/7. And I think I've allowed myself to kind of bookend my day, so I don't have the phone on for a good hour at least in the morning, and at least 2 hours in the evening. Just focusing on being a lot more mindful, inviting positivity into my universe, starting my day with meditation, and maybe reading. I'm reading a lot of Stoicism at the moment, so I'll take a quote and I'll try to apply that quote to my day. So I don't know if you want to call that a biohack or ancestral wisdom, but that's what I'm trying to put into my day, and that's just really helped with a lot of stress and anxiety, and bring the cortisol levels down, and hopefully the inflammatory responders as well.
Yeah, that's super cool. And so what kind of meditation do you do? Literally, is it reading a passage and then thinking about that, or do you have an actual practice that you do?
My practice is usually in the ice bath. So I jump in the ice bath every morning, and I just think that's a perfect opportunity for me to clear my mind. I'm not thinking about emails. I'm not worrying about so much. When I'm in the ice bath, I just find that I'm extremely present. So, I did 25 minutes in the sauna, and then followed this morning and followed that up with an ice bath. And that's usually when I'll do my meditation. It's not always like that. I'm very instinctive. Sometimes it might be when I'm going out for a walk. It could be active meditation, or it could be in a sauna while I'm stretching. I do like to multitask, and or as Tim Gray, our mutual friend, says, stack biohacks.
Yes, stack your hacks. Yeah, I can see you're stacking your hacks already. So you're doing your your walking machine and the blue blocking glasses. Do you wear those glasses all the time, or what's your kind of regime with those?
It all depends. Like I've actually, my wife has put this light here. She always puts this light up if I'm on a podcast.
Right.
It's a little bit too harsh for me. So I'll wear the blue light blockers. Obviously, I'm on a computer. I'll wear the blue light blockers. But in my office and downstairs here, I have the yellow lens, the yellow bulbs, which is zero flicker from Blue Blocks. And then upstairs, I actually have the red. So it looks like a brothel from the outside.
Oh, brilliant.
Upside. So I don't usually wear the blue blockers unless, I am spending extensive amount of time on the computer, or if I'm at the gym and that gym has harsh lighting, then I'll generally wear it because, you're on a bench press or something like that. And you're looking directly up at it. And, I know my cortisol levels are spiked anyway while I'm in the gym. I don't need to spike them anymore.
Great. And just from going through your regime, I mean, already we haven't even talked about your day, and you've got up and you've done your sauna and your ice bath and your meditation. What does the rest of your day look like? Are you literally training all day? Because, if people have seen your Instagram, they know what you look like. Is it a case that you are training all day, every day, or what does your day look like?
No, I train like I weight train 45 minutes, 4 to 5 times a week.
Wow.
That's my sessions. I run quite a few businesses. I'd probably be homeless if I trained all day. Training is not my job. That's my hobby. That's my passion, always has been. But I do some form of cardio every single morning. After I usually wake up and then immediately stretch. I stretch, foam roll, and then I go into my, I'll read. So I always try to exercise my brain before my body. Mm-hmm. And then I'll usually do some form of cardio dependent on the time, if it'll be outside or inside, because it's going to be dark. But I try to get outside and either go for a run or mountain bike or road cycle, something along those lines. And then, I usually get straight into work. But I'm up at 4 a.m., so I'm getting into my work day usually around 7:38 in the morning. And then I'll actually go to the gym in the daytime, if possible, because my schedule is all over the place. If it's possible, I'll usually go early afternoon just to get my weight training in, and then back to my work day, which is usually at the computer, or I'm filming or doing a podcast or something like that. So I like to move as well. So I like to have some low-level activity within my day just to keep the blood flow to the brain, to the body, keep the synovial fluid moving to the joints. And, we're designed to move. I grew up on a farm in Wales, and, you're always on the move. You're always moving. So I think that should be a part of our heritage, which a lot of us are losing today.
Yes, of course. Functional movement too.
Yeah.
And
you look at a lot of the blue zones, and they don't have a word for retirement. And you see the manual activity that they do, even, after 100 years old. It's very, very different to a lot of the westernized culture. So, for instance, in Okinawa, when they've, interviewed some people out there, that are centenarians, they don't have a seat. They're standing up and sitting down on the floor about 50 times a day. So that's like their functional movement. That's their low-level activity and weight training, where a lot of people today are, you're stuck to the remote control and Netflix and having Amazon delivered to your door. So, I think it's very important that we take ourselves back a little bit.
Yeah. It's very interesting that people are promoting more and more this primal, like you say, ancestral knowledge. And it was something that was kind of popular for a while, and then the kind of biohacking, more techie thing came in. But now I think people are starting to go back to that. I mean, what do you think is the biggest thing to come out of this situation we find ourselves in, where, people have their routines completely changed and people have been in and not doing these things? What's your takeaway from this last year of chaos?
I always say you have to control your environment and not get controlled by it. Like I had a conversation with my wife about it this morning, because she was talking about a friend of hers who is going to come and visit, but then she doesn't know whether she should visit because she wants to go overseas straight after that. And people are just led by fear. And I thought, you just got to go with the flow. Like, I was just in the UK recently. I wasn't fearful that I would fail a negative test, you know, a COVID test or whatever. It happens, you know, and you can't control what is in front of you. You just got to invite the positivity into your universe. And, you know, I think of, for instance, you know, my great grandparents that were in World War I. Well, I'm sure we didn't have it that bad, you know, because we do have air conditioning. We do have the home. We do have TV. We can speak to each other via Zoom. We've got it pretty good. So a lot of people that put themselves in a state of mind is just allowing the media to control and influence their actions. And you just can't fall for it. We're a lot smarter than that.
Yeah, that's refreshing to hear, Kris, because I know, you know, I've kind of been in that situation where a lot of people are coming at me with various, you know, contracted statements, and I've been trying to help people out, but it definitely is where you put your energy, you know, that's where that flows. So what are you working on yourself right now? I know you said you've got a lot of businesses going on. I see that there's a biohacking center coming in UK and all kinds of things. Maybe you can just tell us where you're at right now.
Yeah, for sure. So, you know, we're having some, you know, with my supplement company, Caged, we're having some supply chain issues at the moment.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And, you know, that's going to probably carry on for the rest of the year. So we're trying to negotiate and balance things out there. You know, as an example, the price of protein for a 2-pound tub is being charged to us now, not just us, every brand, the equivalent of like an extra $25 per tub. So we're scratching our heads here and thinking, how do we help the consumer understand this? Because if we had the margin, maybe we'd eat it up, but we don't have that margin. So we're going through a difficult task at the moment. So I'm going to fly down to Huntington Beach next week, where our headquarters are, for a week of meetings to see how we can kind of navigate what's coming up. We just opened a couple of more gyms in India, which is great. You know, I've got a franchise over there, and you know, during the happening of the C word, you know, a lot of gym franchises were closing down, and we've been in a very fortunate position where we haven't looked at quantity, we've just looked at quality. So we were able to actually open a couple of extra facilities. But again, that hurt because we had to close all of the gyms down for a while, but we had to continue to pay our staff, which a lot of companies can't do that. So, you know, we were lucky that we was in a position to do that. And and as you said, so we're about to open 2 clinics in London with my business partner, Jag. And that's going to be called Be Superhuman. And these are going to be biohacking clinics where we'll have, obviously, you know, the IV, you know, hyperbaric oxygen chamber. We're going to make sure that we have the very best hyperbaric oxygen chamber there. We're going to have the very best, the top end cryotherapy units. So, you know, really looking forward to launching those 2 places. It'll give me an excuse to go back to the UK.
Yeah. Yes. I knew you wouldn't be still.
Yeah. Gotta go there. And other than that, you know, I'm just continuing with my online training. So I'm helping, you know, professional athletes, just people off the streets. I've partnered with GlycanAge as well for pilot studies because, you know, my biological age is much younger than other people that they've tested from an athletic background compared to my chronological age. So we're doing a pilot study with my clients there for those. And I'm just working on like a mastermind course at the moment because of what has happened in the world. There's been a lot of personal trainers or people within the fitness industry that have been reliant on a brick and mortar place or their employer. So now they're launching, we're in the process of putting the finishing touches on our mastermind course to help people create a form of independence with the platforms that we have online now. So it doesn't matter where they are in the world, they can have that independence and don't feel so vulnerable.
Yeah, that's super cool. Really important. What we usually do in the podcast is have a challenge from our guests where there's something that we do over 7 days ourselves, Russ and I. And sometimes it's difficult and sometimes we do it easily. But I wonder if there's something you could give us that would also be something that the audience could do kind of as an intro in what you're saying, as taking back some of the control and responsibility. And it can be whatever you like, but it would be just interesting to see what would you set as a task for people that are really just starting on this journey, or on ones that have been doing it for a while. Okay. We have a range of people.
Sure. Well, we can kind of stack a couple of biohacks here that's free for everybody to do. And that is, I try to earth myself every day. So at my desk there, I do have an earthing mat. But whenever, because I am in Idaho, I get 4 seasons. I'm not always going to go outside in the snow and earth myself on a daily basis. But what people can do is go outside, take their shoes and socks off, earth themselves, but do it in a plank position. So, they could do, let's say, 3 sets of a plank on the grass. Okay, so they're earthing themselves at the same time. And this is going to help with their core stability, which a lot of people are lacking in. Most of my clients, when I get them to do planks, that they're not as good as they should be for their strength of their primary movers. So I'd say start off do 3 sets to failure, rest for a couple of minutes between each set of planks, and then time it. How long were you able to do? And see by how much can you beat it by the following day until you get to day 7.
So we haven't really had anyone on talking about earthing, actually, and it's a cool topic. But what's your understanding of how it's working, and can you do it anywhere? Because my understanding is you have to be a bit choosy.
Yeah, obviously you want to try to do it on grass whenever. You also want to find yourself a grassy patch and do that. You could obviously do it on, natural stone. No, you can't do it on fake turf or anything. And what you're trying to do is absorb a lot of the negative ions from the earth and remove yourself of a lot of the the Wi-Fi, the EMF, the satellite signals that are penetrating us on a daily basis. So that was the reason. That is how I kind of stumbled across it, because I had issues with sleep. I just wasn't getting good night's sleep whatsoever. I was diagnosed with mold toxicity as a contributing factor of that. However, it wasn't until I was in Las Vegas some years ago, this is 2016, and I went to a music festival there inside the Speedway. I wasn't doing drugs, I wasn't drinking alcohol, but I came away from there with like a 3 or 4 day hangover. I felt absolutely terrible. Right. And that's when somebody told me about being possibly electrosensitive. And I had Brian Hoyer come to the house, who's one of the world's leading building biologists, to check my home for dirty electricity. He had me sleep in what was like a one-man tent. It was a Faraday cage to help block out a lot of the EMFs. And, I don't know how I could have a placebo effect of this, but, I tracked my sleep with an Oura ring and I had the best night's sleep. And then he was here in Boise for 2 nights, so he asked if I wanted to sleep in it again the following night, and I did. And again, had a phenomenal night's sleep. So that's when I really started looking at, mitigating the damages of EMF, and earthing being one of those practices.
And so do you do other things? Like, do you turn your Wi-Fi off? Do you use an Ethernet, or how do you also mitigate against that? Because I think this is something that people don't want to hear. I mean, I know certainly when I speak to my techie friends here in Holland that they think I'm a bit of a tin hatter, because they don't want to hear their technology is bad for them. Because like you say, most people are sort of addicted to it. But what else do you do to mitigate against it?
Well, I was going to say it's out of sight, out of mind. So people don't see it, much like people didn't see smoking as being bad for themselves. It's a silent killer, isn't it? It can be death of 1,000 cuts. But there's going to be some people that are a lot more electrosensitive than others. So when I slept that night inside the Faraday cage, my wife didn't really notice that much, but she didn't feel that hangover that I did when we came from Vegas. So everybody's different. We have to respect that. But other things that I do, so I have a Defender Shield case over my phone. I also have the Lambs boxer shorts different pieces of clothing. Depending, I'm not going to wear that every day, but if I'm traveling, if I'm flying, I have a kill switch here for the Wi-Fi. So I definitely don't want to have Wi-Fi during the night. The phone is usually on airplane mode whenever possible. I even have one of these Defender Shield cases here I can show you for people that are viewing this. that goes underneath the laptop. So, if I'm traveling as well, I don't want that on my lap. It'll block out a lot of the EMFs or mitigate the EMFs that are coming from that. So, there's a few little practices. I try not to go over the top with anything, to be honest with you. I just do whatever I can to keep my head afloat.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. I have. I mean, there's a lot in there. I think there's, unraveling. We just spent time with someone talking about heavy metals in your system. I'm on the verge, after doing this podcast now for a year, Kris, of having a complete panic attack that everything in this world is bad for me and coming at me. Whether it's bad light, it's the Wi-Fi, it's the satellites, it's bad diet, it's bad music. I mean, there's a lot of shit going into our bodies, a lot of bad stuff going in. And it's our job, I hope, Sarah and I, and you as well, Kris, it's our job to protect people and letting them know that these are the choices that you're making that are not good. So where do you prioritize that? Like, how do you prioritize the good versus the bad going into your body? And how do you get the bad out? Those are two questions. Let's start with the first one. How do you prioritize the bad going in, and what do you prioritize first?
Well, yes, it's a good question. I guess you've got to see how, whatever affects you. Like I said, 2014, I went to Dr. Spanaug's clinic in Oldsmar, Florida, because I'd reached the end of my tether. I didn't know what to do in regards to my sleep. And it wasn't until I was suggested about Dr. Spanaug by my formulator, who's a genius in his own right, to go see him, where I was diagnosed with mold toxicity. So then that was my priority. So to ensure that I'm looking into grains, food, like coffee, wine, things like that have mold spores. So I'm eliminating it. And then when it comes to collating it out of my body, then there's different approaches that I take. It could be colonic hydrotherapy, could be at-home coffee enemas. I'm doing saunas on a daily basis because I'm trying to collate a lot of heavy metals as well, as you mentioned before, because I do have some metal in my mouth that I'm going to go, hopefully, when everything's cleared, I'm going to travel to Germany to see Dr. Dom to remove a lot of this metal out of my mouth. But I'm taking binders and I'm doing a sauna to, try to get rid of a lot of this stuff. So, I guess it's different strokes for different folks. I get my blood work done. And obviously with the hair follicle tests, I can tell how much heavy metal contaminants are in my system. So that's how I look at my detoxing protocol, and I'll do the usual detoxes as well. I'll have IV therapy. I'll be going this Thursday, glutathione, vitamin C, NAD, etc.
Where do you think you got the mold from, Kris, in the first place? Do you have an idea?
Yeah, it was when I was living in India. I was living in an apartment there in Mumbai. And Mumbai is a very humid place. And I got it it had been located to Mumbai at the apartment there. Some people get it from different things. And that's where I got it from. New York is very common for that as well. People getting mold toxicity from old apartments in New York.
Right. Yeah, England too, I should imagine. Yeah, and Wales possibly, all those places where there's a lot of rain. It's just interesting to hear because, like Russ said, we've had a few guests. We had Andreas Brightfield on, and he was talking very much about heavy metal. So it's just interesting that people really, when they're starting on this journey, they need to do that assessment first and find out what you're working on. That needs to be the first thing that you do. So what was your first, remind us again, how did you get that diagnosis that set you off on your way so you knew what to do first?
Well, with Dr. Spanaug in Oldsmar, Florida. So my formulator with my supplement company, Brian Rand, who I mentioned is a genius in himself. He went to the University of Tampa, and that's very close to where Dr. Spanaug is. And they knew each other from years and years ago. And he has this clinic that helps people with like Lyme's disease, mold toxicity, etc. And, for instance, my before and after pictures of clients are usually you've got someone out of shape, now they're in shape. Yes. They would go in there with some sort of mental disorder like Alzheimer's. They wouldn't be able to tell the time, or maybe they go in a wheelchair, but they leave being able to tell the time and walk out. It's absolutely unbelievable what this guy is able to do. He would have had me there probably for about 6 months. I couldn't be there for 6 months. So I stayed there for 6 weeks, but I continued the protocol and suggestions and doing a lot of my own research based on what he helped me with to kind of go down this biohacking journey that I continue to do today, knowing that I'm a different person for it. You know, if I compare myself to the person that I was in 2016, it's night and day. And I was dealing with a lot of inflammation in my body, not just, from a perspective of internally, but like, my joints, my connective tissue, tendons, ligaments that I thought had just come from years of weight training. But when I completely changed my protocol, my diet and collating and detoxing, I got rid of everything. None of those issues I once had, it's all gone. However, my training never really changed. So that's when I was kind of sold and decided, okay, I want to work at this every single day if I want to live a better life.
Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder how many of us are kind of carrying things around with us and putting it down to just the aging process.
Yeah, for sure. And, when I first had my biological age test, my biological age was actually older than my chronological age, only by a couple of years. But everything that I've done since then, like I said, from the meditation, from the IVs, I've had stem cells, do NAD, everything that I've been doing since then has allowed me to reverse my biological age every single year that I have it tested.
Yeah, I bet. Do you know what they're testing when they're testing your age?
Yeah, well, with telomeres, it's telomeres. So
it's the ends of the chromosomes.
Yeah, exactly. So as we get older, obviously they fray, they get shorter, and we've got to do whatever we can to kind of prevent that from shortening as quicker than our chronological age.
Yeah, it would be good to have that test to see and do some of these tests before and after, I'm sure, because then you have something more concrete to work towards.
Yeah, I like quantifying a lot of things, whether it be calories, macros, sleep, heart rate variability. So that's just one of those things that can be a wake-up call for a lot of clients. So that's something that I do like to have clients do in the very beginning.
Yes, we had Dr. Joe on to talk about quantified self last week, and it's so crucial. Okay, just to end then, Kris, maybe you could tell us, is there something that you've done, one of these biohacks that didn't really work out to plan? There's so many things where people are very gung-ho about this, but I'm just interested to hear, is there anything you did? I know that I had one story of someone drinking parasites and that turned out a disaster. Is there anything you've done that's just been a total disaster?
Do you know what? I don't think I have. I don't really go off the deep end like a lot of biohackers. I haven't had chips put in myself, and I haven't had like any types of iodine injected into my eyeballs so I can see at nighttime. So, I haven't done anything really off the...
It sounds like you've considered that, though. You know about these things.
No, I'll eat my carrots instead.
Yeah, that's good.
But, the most off the hook thing that I've done really is like I traveled to Colombia for stem cells, but that was a huge success. So there isn't anything, it's going to be difficult to quantify some, like I do, in my lounge, I do have a PEMF mat. It's really hard to tell and quantify on things like that, because I have had a lot of injuries, a lot of bone breaks. And so I've done the PEMF and I have healed a lot quicker than what the doctors suggest that I would. So is it working? Maybe. Don't know. Really don't know.
That's pulsed electromagnetic fields for those who don't know. And yes, you're right. It's like one of those things, almost like red light therapy, where you intuitively think it's having an effect, but, you need to do this quantification to find out what's really going on.
Yeah, exactly. And the only thing, for instance, like with the red light therapy, I can look at my sleep data a little bit, find that it helps with the circadian rhythm. People say my skin looks all right. So I'm like, well, maybe there's something to that. So I do that on a daily basis too for just a good 10, 15 minutes.
Yes. Oh, well, that's super cool. The stem cells really quickly then, because that is quite outrageous thing to do. Where did you have that? Was that in your joints?
Yeah, so when I was competing in one of my Ironman events, as I was preparing for it, I was in New York to do some appearances, and I absolutely love Central Park. You know, it doesn't matter if I'm staying in New Jersey, I'll get an Uber there and I'll do a couple of laps around Central Park. It's just so, I don't know, energetic, is vibrant. So it was, I can't remember. I was like 3 miles away from finishing my run, and my knee had inflamed. I got quite a high pain threshold, and I thought, I'll be okay, and I'll just carry on running. It wasn't until I stopped, I realized I was limping, and I was only like 4 weeks away from one of my Ironman events. So I thought, well, I've got two choices. I either stop running, or I stop running and do the event, or I just pull out the event. So I preferred to actually just stop running leading up to the event. But I had to stop at every single aid station on the run to ice my knee because it was just so bad. And I'd looked into stem cells prior to that. So, you know, with a little bit of further research over several months, I decided to go to Colombia, and I had it in that knee, but I thought, well, I'm going to have it anywhere where I know that I have wear and tear coming up. So I had them in my shoulders, had them in my elbows, had them in my knees, had IV as well. And about 6 months later, it took about 6 months to get the efficacy from it. Right. Like 3 months after, I was like, my God, did I just waste my money coming here? Even though it's not cheap.
I can imagine it's not cheap. Yeah.
Well, a lot cheaper than having it here in the US, for sure. And it's much more efficacious from the sources that it comes from overseas. But about 6 months later, it really set in, and it was the best money I ever spent.
Oh, that's interesting to hear that. Yeah, I went to Mexico a couple of years ago where there were people there who were experts in that, and they had some brilliant testimonials. So, you know, it's a brilliant technique. Well, let us know if there's anything you want to promote, Kris. Tell us where people can find you, or if you've got events coming up, or the name of your course.
Yes, speaking of events, or Mexico, I should say, my next event, I forget the name of it. They can follow my socials though, but I do have an appearance in Mexico City at an expo there in November 20th. But if people want to contact me in regards to coaching, whether that be for business mentorship or whether it be for physical transformations or anti-aging as being part of a pilot study, then just go to my Instagram, which is Kris, Kris Gethin, Gethin.
Brilliant. And what we'll do is we'll do the challenge, we will do the planks, and we'll normally provide photographic evidence. And then we will do a little review and see how we got on, and we'll write that up in a blog. So we'll make sure that we include all your links, and we'll put it all in the blog, and we'll let you know how we got on. But I like the idea of a double challenge of doing the earthing as well as the planks. So that's very cool. And thank you for your time. I'm sorry we were a little bit late today.
That's absolutely fine. I've got 13 minutes before my next call, so that's great. Thank you.
Well, with this 13 minutes, let me take two, because I do have a question, because again, all of this has been incredibly intriguing, and I think there's just this collective knowledge of quantifying self, understanding what you're putting into body and how to get the bad stuff out of your body. I'm curious when you talk about longevity, because weight training over time, all those things take a toll on you. You talk about stem cell and doing those. What are some takeaways for longevity that the audience can take with them that you think is, a practice that we just need to kind of apply these basics to get going? I like to kind of always narrow down to our audience members that are just getting started. And what are some of the things you'd want to leave our audience with around, like, what are the things that will help with longevity? What are a couple of things you should start today to kind of get thinking about how to live longer and healthier?
Well, number one, one of the biggest changes that I made in 2016 is I went completely organic, grass-fed, wild-caught, humane raised. That was the biggest thing for me, an elimination of any vegetable oils, and get away from the fun foods, no processed foods, and elimination of sugars. Of course, you're going to have some sugars, whether coming in the form of berries or strawberries or something like that. But that's going to be the number one change that I'd say people, I suggest to people. But keep in mind, look, I'm into, weight training and, Ironman events. I eat a lot of protein. Now, is that going to be the healthiest? Well, Maybe not, but I utilize a lot of my protein, and I balance my methionine ratio by supplementing with glycine or eating organ meats, just to make sure that I have that balance. Because I know if I eat too much muscle meat, which is going to be a lot of methionine, it's not going to be good for my aging process. So you just got to look at it as a balance. If somebody's going to go out and have a drink of, a drink of vodka, and maybe have some bitters. Maybe take a liver tonic, you have some fun, but balance it.
Yeah, no, I think those are great things. And diet change is one of the things that Sarah and I have talked about. And a few months ago, I did that, and it's been a life changer. And I think the balancing piece and the earthing piece, I'm excited to share the success and failures that will be me in the earthing piece, but in planking. Yeah, we'll do our best.
If people can tag me in their pictures, that'd be great. I'll pop in and hopefully throw some encouragement their way.
Yeah, that would be cool. We'll do the plank earth challenge. That would be cool. Yes. Cool. Well, thank you so much, Kris. You. Yeah, it's been super cool and lovely to see you. I hope I get to see you in real life soon. And all the best.
Make it happen. Thank you so much. I appreciate you both.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Sarah, oh my God. I mean, how are you?
I'm very good. Thank you, Russ. Very good.
Good. You look like you've been running around, traveling the world.
Yes. It's very nice to be back traveling, I must say.
And the sun's doing you well, as always.
Yes, of course, doing my sunrise walking. It's a lot easier here in the sunshine to kind of get motivated to get up and see the sunrise. So yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah, it's like there is no sunrise if you can't see the sun. That's the way I feel about it. But
well, there is.
I know.
It's just not as much fun.
It's deceptive. So I'm a little sore. How are you?
I'm good, actually. I'm feeling quite strong. I actually really enjoyed Kris's challenge because wherever I go and do my planking, I've been on the beach and all over the place. People have been joining in, doing it with me. And yeah, it was good fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's called a challenge for a reason.
Yeah. Yes. It is a bit difficult. I mean, yeah, I have been doing push-ups and things as part of my routine. So yeah, to have this challenge, it was a good one to okay. Yeah. How much are you really doing it? Are you really doing it on a regular basis? Yeah. Doing it outside, of course, is another level too. So
I wish we had before and after pictures of when we started this podcast and then today, because I think I kind of look the same, because I don't think I'm fulfilling my requirement of actually like getting biohacked.
All right, we're going to have to step it up a bit then, Russ. I think maybe.
We do. Yeah, I'm getting hacked by life, not biohacked.
All right. Did you do your planks? Did you at least your planks?
I did. I'm sore. Which is just another example of I shouldn't be sore from doing basic planks. But I see Kris. I mean, he's walking, probably 82 miles a day on his treadmill. And I'm not doing that. I'm standing at least. Well, today I'm sitting, but I usually stand while I'm eating.
Yeah, well, of course, yeah, he's a glowing example, isn't he, of no excuses. He took a break from his training regime, which is obviously pretty intense, but he didn't really take a break because the whole time he was running on his treadmill. So there you go. It can be done. People who say, well, I've got a sedentary job, it's more difficult. There are ways around it.
There are. Well, we're finding ways around it. And that's the whole thing here is finding ways to keep yourself moving, longevity. We had one of our podcast guests told us this is the path to 100. If I feel like I feel at my age and I know that the degradation's coming in, I got to do something about this. Yeah, I want to live to be 100, but not, degrading.
Yeah, exactly. You want to have another 50 good years. You don't want to live to 100 in a decrepit state. And I think that's what it's all about. It's about the quality of your life going forward.
That's right.
You can probably live to 100 if you're on all these ventilators and you take a lot of drugs, but what's the quality of your life going to be like?
That's right. No, that's totally true. I mean, and Kris, we can find Kris where? What do we have on the top of our minds here where we can find him on his social media?
Kris, if you type in Kris Gethin, I think you're going to find him. You know, he really is very good at putting his social media out there, putting courses together. He's on a lot of podcasts. He's a really cool guy.
He really is. I think he's at Kris Gethin is his Instagram handle. He's the CEO of name. Is that his name?
Yeah, his name is Gethin. It's Welsh, like Kris Gethin. He's got that lovely Welsh accent, but I thought it was Gethin. I mean, what a brilliant name. He was destined for that.
He has. I mean, honestly, we'll put everything up on the blog, breakingthegray.com/rebel scientist. The blog will be up. Kris, this is Kris Gethin or Kris Gethin. He is the CEO of Cage, the co-founder of Get Thin Gyms, voted World Tour's #1 trainer, the online trainer, info at healthkick.com, at official Gasp athlete. I mean, the guy, I don't even know how he has time to lift weights.
Yeah, and he's our age as well. So this, Russ, if this is, we're going to do our before and after, we need to kind of have a picture of him up on the wall and okay, this is how you do it with style.
I didn't realize he was 32. I didn't know he was 32. All right, Sarah, you're the best. Go enjoy the rest of your day. And I look forward to meeting more of your friends next week.
Great. Yeah, we've got a really cool guest next week. So I can't wait to see you then.
All right. Take care.
Okay. Take care. Bye.
The Rebel Scientist Podcast is a Breaking the Gray production. Created by Russ Eisenman and Paul Wood. Hosted by Sarah Turner. Music and sound editing by Logan Shea. For more information and other fantastic podcasts, visit breakingthegray.com. That's gray with an E. breakingthegray.com.
Breaking the Gray.